Hello students, I'm Aanchal Sharma, your educator for paper 1. Today we are going to discuss PYQs plus different concepts. So we, the team of Drishti, are bringing forward the new initiative that we have taken. This is the last lap. We have a 30-day program, a 30-day plan just ready for our students because we want you to revise all the PYQs and revise the important concepts. Now, why is this series going to be beneficial for you? Because of 3 reasons. The first, you will see what is the pattern of the questions that is asked. Then, we will also tell you, and I will with you be solving the questions. This will tell you how the questions are tackled. Then third, you will know about the different concepts. So we see that never the same PYQ or the past year question that we are discussing, repeatedly they will not ask the same thing. But of course, the concepts are repeated again and again. So what is more important, what you have to take away from this video is not the question that is asked. That is irrelevant. The most important thing is how I solve that question, which all are the tricks, what all are the different ways in which I will explain you that thing and the concept that we will be doing together. This will help you for the longer run and this will help you look at the question in a very challenging and a different manner. So I don't want a convergent thinking. I am not saying to have a convergent thinking here, but a divergent thinking is needed to solve your UGC NET paper, right? So now without wasting any time, we'll just see the PYQ. So in the first slide, I have PYQs and then we'll discuss that question and then we'll jump towards the explanation. So that explanation, I'll fully in detail explain you the different concepts. Now let us start with the first question that I have for you today. So this is list 1 and this is list 2. There are different Erikson stages of the psychological development and then we have the relevant illustrations for them. The first is basic trust versus basic mistrust. Then we have industry versus inferiority in isolation. Then we have intimacy versus isolation. Then we have generativity versus stagnation. So these are the few stages that Erikson has talked about. Now, what is to be gained from this question? That are these in the chronological order? If not, then also it is not a problem because it's a match the following question. And this is the most important thing. Yes, match the following questions are very, very, very easy. You have to learn this, how to solve them. If you know at least one out of these, which will be the correct option, will be answering the question would be very easy for you. Then we have the list 2. These 2 are telling about the relevant illustrations. The first is parenting, then love relationships, then school, and then the last is the feeding. So what is basically Erikson stages of psychological development should be clear. So I hope you have read the question with me. Let us see the answer. So the answer is C. And how do we came up with this question? With this answer, we will be looking in the course of the video. So the first stage is, let us see the first stage here. So these are the different stages that Erikson has given. Erikson was a psychologist. He came up that there are always some crises that a child goes through. There is always the first stage and the second stage, and between these 2 stages, there is conflict. So this conflict, which quote unquote, he used the word crisis, is the thing that is every child going through. And why are these crises so important? These crises are important because there will be an outcome learned from all these things. So we always know the toughest situations will give you the best result, right? You must have heard this quotation, right? So this is what Erikson is saying. Yes, there will be conflict in your life. Each stage will give you conflict. At the age of 3, at the age of 5, at the age of 13, you will have number of conflicts. But what do you gain out of it? You gain all these virtues out of it. Now, the question can be asked in any manner. They can ask you about the approximate age. They can ask you about the illustrations, just like we saw in the previous question. They can also ask you about the crisis, about the task that you are undergoing and the virtue that you have developed. So this keeps on going, right? Now let us see what is the answer here. The C is the right answer. That means A will be joined with 4. The basic trust versus mistrust by 4. Then we have B, which will be joined with 3. Industry versus the inferiority isolation in the schooling. Then we have C to 1, that is the parenting, and generativity versus stagnation, that means C to 2, and then we have D to 1, right? So now we will have a different approach. Now we'll see how the things are actually answered, right? So I hope this is clear. Now let us see. So the first stage is the infant stage and the 18 months of your age. So in the first stage, you'll see that there is always trust versus mistrust going on. You are here deciding to trust your parents, and of course you have to trust your parents because you are fully dependent on them. This is the stage where you need constant efforts of your parents. This is a stage where you are dependent on your mother and your father. So this is a stage where someday you'll find that you are playing with your mother. Just in a blink of a second, you think that your mother is gone and you are playing with your grandmother. What is it? There can be a mistrust scenario also created. So out of trust and mistrust, you learn hope in this. So what is the virtue you learn? You learn hope. Then you have 18 months to 3 years. There is always autonomy, shame or doubt here, right? So there is a conflict between autonomy, I can do things on my own, versus there is always shame and doubt. You know that I can do this thing on my own, but there is also shame. Shame of maybe I'm not able to go to the washroom alone. I need my mother. This is some kind of shame. Shame that I want to wear my pants when I am coming outside from the washroom. Small children tend to face all these things. Out of it, you'll learn the will. You'll have the willpower. Then when we move towards 3 to 5 years of age, we see that there is initiative that we take and there is always guilt. We try to do something, but we are guilty. What if we fail? Out of it, you learn the purpose of life. You think that what are the few things I have to do in my life? Then there is the age of 5 to 13. You're entering the adolescent age, and this was also seen in the question. At this stage, you are definitely in your school. You are doing what? This is industry. Industry is what? Here, school is the industry for us. And there is inferiority complex. You are directly comparing yourself with your peer group. This is inferiority, that where you feel that you may be less than another person. You're not that good looking. You are shabbily dressed. So you start to compare yourself. So this child will compare. But of course, there will be a conflict between the rules and regulations and how inferiority complex will target him. Out of it, he'll learn the power of competency, the virtue of competency. Then 13 to 21, again, somewhat your teenage, you start to feel, who am I? This is the question that will pop in your mind. What is my identity? Am I only Aanchal Sharma? What am I? What to do in life? All these things are confusion that will come in your mind. So there is one identity created, but there are so many confusions. There is plethora of information surrounded, in front of you, and you have so many career options. What to do, what to become. Out of it, you learn fidelity at this stage. Now, this stage is 21 to 39. Most of us lie in this stage, and we all know there is always intimacy and isolation at this stage. So you start to care about another person here, not caring selflessly because you still haven't understood the power of care, but here you know what love is. You like to talk to the opposite gender. So this is a stage where you sometimes feel isolated, that yes, I'm lonely. Sometimes you have your partner. This is a stage of intimacy versus isolation, and you will learn the virtue of love out of it. Then 40 to 65. Now this is a stage where your parents are in. What is happening here? Your parents are married. They now have to take full responsibility of your well-being. Now they have to selflessly do everything for your benefit. So what is happening? There is generativity. They have a different generation to take care of. And there is stagnation because no career growth is happening as such. They know that now they have to invest in you. Now they have to invest in your life. This is how care is learned. At this stage, they won't care about themselves but about you. So all your parents care so much about you, and this is a selfless activity that they do. At the end, at the age from 65 to the time you live, that is the stage that Erikson says you learn wisdom. In the whole process, you will never gain wisdom. You don't know what is right and wrong. But in your deathbed, you know that I need integrity, and yes, there is death approaching. There is despair because now I am dependent. So we all know that the child here, the infant, and the adult here, the older person, the elders that we have, the grandparents, are like, you can say, they're dependent on our parents or maybe on us. This is a stage where they are full of despair because they cannot do things on their own. So Erikson said, at this stage, they will learn wisdom. Now, how to solve the question? You can look here and you can see that if one thing is also clear, then also you can solve the question easily. If you know that generativity versus stagnation, or take this, intimacy versus isolation. With the word intimacy, you know that yes, we are talking about some love relation. So you know that C would definitely be matched with 2. So if you just look at the options, then clearly you can find the right answer. You will strike the first 2, definitely not here. Of course, C is not even joined to here. That means this is the correct answer. So with this elimination technique, you can solve any match the following question, and I guarantee you this elimination technique will help you a lot in solving each and every question. The maximum output that you will get is in the match the following, and we'll see it in the other questions as well. So basic trust versus mistrust is when you are feeding. That is the time of feeding, right? So here Oedipus complex, Electra complex come into play. Then we have industry versus inferiority, because you know you are in the school and you have peer groups, so there definitely some inferiority complex coming in your way. Then there is generativity versus stagnation. You are a parent now. You have to mentor your students, your children. So you have a responsibility. So this is how you can solve any question. Also, Erikson's theory is very important because he is talking how with each passing stage, with each crisis, you learn something. Then comes the second question for you. Now we have list 1 and list 2. This question is very important and they have asked these type of questions before, and also I'll tell you some other ways in which they have asked the question. For example, they have asked statement wise question. Dash is the person who has talked about, and they already took the name, right? So say 1A is the person who talked about classical conditioning and B is the person who talked about operant conditioning. But it was jumbled, right? So A and B were jumbled in the statements that they had, right? They were asking. So statement 1 and statement 2, they said that both are correct, both are wrong, one correct, one wrong. So they can ask the questions in this manner. Also, they have asked about the father of social learning theory, right? You will get to know the answer just now and you have to write it down. Then they have also talked about Lev Vygotsky, and they have asked a lot of questions about scaffolding, about MKO, and all these things they have already asked. Now let us see the answer. So the answer to this question is B. So I'll read the question again. There is list 1, there is list 2. First is classical conditioning, then we have operant conditioning, social learning theory, and then we have constructivism. In the list 2, we have Albert Bandura, we have Ivan Pavlov, then we have Lev Vygotsky and B.F. Skinner. So I'll show you the answer again. The answer is B. That means A would be joined with 2. Your classical conditioning is given by Ivan Pavlov. He is the founder who talked about, he is the person who talked about the classical conditioning. Classical conditioning and operant conditioning both are the behaviorist techniques. How you can change your behavior. With behavior, the students can change, the children would change, right? Then we have the operant conditioning, and operant conditioning is B.F. Skinner is the one who talked about operant conditioning. Then we have the social learning theory. Social learning theory is given by Albert Bandura. He is the father of social learning as well. This is also a PYQ 2021. Then we have constructivism. So constructivism, Lev Vygotsky is the person who talked about constructivism, right? So this was pertaining to this question. Now let us explicitly understand what all are these theories, because these are very important. So there are theories like behaviorism, constructivism, and constructivism or cognitivism, and all these theories are important. And in my class, I have explained all these theories in greater detail. Right now, let us see at the difference between classical conditioning and operant conditioning. Now, these are the behaviorist techniques, as I told you. So the first, let us distinguish them on the basis of the natural responses. So the natural response to a classical conditioning that someone is giving on me is very involuntary, because I don't even know, and the change will happen. There is a reflex action that will happen because stimulus is provided. And we'll see that Ivan Pavlov experimented on dog and how his reflex actions changed. Then comes the operant conditioning, that is very spontaneous and very voluntary. So it is very spontaneous. I'll do things on my own. I am voluntarily taking effort in it. Then comes the reinforcement. So the reinforcement occurs when you are given some bait, you are given some response. So there is a stimulus provided. So it occurs before response. So whatever reinforcement you are doing, whatever something reward is to be given to you, that is done before the response. And in the operant condition, it occurs after the response. So after the response is done, reinforcement, the rewards are given. Reward is a kind of reinforcement, reassurance that you should do these things because then you will be rewarded. Then the role of the learner. So when it comes to classical conditioning, we are very laid back because we are what? We are involuntary and the things happen on their own. So we are passive, but we are very active when it comes to the operant conditioning. Then comes the nature of learning. How do you learn? So there is neutral response becomes the conditioned response through the association with the unconditioned stimulus that is provided. So the stimulus is provided and then the response changes. We'll see at the example. We will look at the example and then the things would be more clear. Then probably we'll see that for making a response, there is always a consequence that will follow it when we talk about the operant conditioning. Now let us look at the two examples. So the first is the example given by Ivan Pavlov, the experiment of the classical conditioning. So you see that there is a neutral stimulus. So there was a bell rung and then there was a dog. Whenever the bell was rung, dog used to come, but of course nothing happened. He just heard that yes, there is ringing of a bell. Now what happened? There was, before conditioning, one thing also observed, that whenever the food, the meat is brought in front of the dog, he salivates, right? So this mouth, watering of the mouth is the unconditioned response without conditioning, without doing anything, without changing anything, without any behaviorist technique. My dog will salivate when the food is seen, but when the bell is rung, no response is given. What will I do? I will condition my dog. I want him to learn few things. So what is happening during the course of conditioning, I saw that there is an unconditioned response that I want to get linked between these two things. Whenever the bell was rung, the meat was brought. Whenever the meat was brought, bell was rung. So both of these two things were, we actually performed these two things together. So bell was rung and the food was brought. So what happened in the mind of my dog? After conditioning, I observed that there was, whenever the bell was rung, then also the mouth of my dog, the conditioned response was to salivate. So the unconditioned response is directly the same here as the conditioned response. Now this is, I am changing the traits, the behavior of the dog. You also do this and you actually observe this in your home as well. So there are some pendulum clocks. Say suppose you are sitting in your dining room and there is always a pendulum clock. whenever it is 8 o'clock, which is definitely the time for us to have our dinner, right? So it is 8 p.m. and the pendulum strikes. Each time, you know, your mother will serve food at 8 o'clock, you know the pendulum would strike. So one day when the pendulum would strike and the food is not yet there, you still would feel hungry. This is how you are conditioned to do things. This is a behaviorist technique. Let us now talk about operant conditioning. So we have B.F. Skinner, who introduced and talked about our operant conditioning, and he said that there is always reward and punishment, and a person will always actively perform that thing when they know that the rewards would be given. Take my example. I know that I have my UGC NET exam, and if I clear this exam, I can definitely have the dream job I really want to have. So what will I do? I will work hard and I know that I'll receive something. So that is my reward. But if I know, if I study in a bad manner, if I don't study, then there would be bashing given by my mother. Then of course, I will avoid that thing. That means positive reinforcements will attract me to work harder. So this is reinforcement and punishment. Now let us talk about the social learning. So social learning is taught by Albert Bandura, and he said that there are some factors that come into play whenever we are learning from the society. We actually imitate the other person. We have direct contact with that person. But of course, when we observe that person, we tend to learn from the society as well. Till that time, he said that there is definitely something that is innate in you. That means there can be some personal factors like my cognitive skills, like my IQ, like how I deal with the different things. Right? What is my intelligent quotient? What is my cognitive, affective, psychomotor, and what is my biological events? But there are definitely some environmental factors. Some environmental factors like my school, like my parents, like my culture, that will also come into play. And then at the end, there are some behaviors that are created. So all these things are interrelated. Now this process that he talked about is again a PYQ. There was this question in which you had to choose and had to actually make all these things in a chronological order, that what are the basic process that is talked by Albert Bandura to learn things. So what is it? First of all, attention is created. If I want to learn something, say I only want to understand about teaching aptitude. So what will I do? I will have my attention towards that. I'll be attracted towards it. I'll have a purpose. I'll have attention. Then I'll retain things. Of course, it is very important to retain things in my mind as well. Then there is reproduction. I will have the previous knowledge that I'll be adding with the new knowledge. Then what will happen? I'll be motivated because yes, I know things are going correct. That means I'll be motivated. And then there would be reinforcement. The positive effect, the positive things would come out of it. So I'll do the things even more nicely. So first of all, I know I have to clear my UGC NET exam with JRF. So what am I doing? I'll retaining all the facts. I'm doing all the PYQ series because I know I have to brush up my skills. Then what will happen? I'll reproduce those two things, right? I will try to understand things on my own. My teacher would tell me something. But of course, my knowledge is also structured according to what I'm doing. Then I'll be fully motivated because I am now going in a right direction. And what will be my reinforcement? The JRF certificate that I'll get. That will be my reinforcement. Now come Lev Vygotsky. So this is constructivism. As the word says, here you are constructing the knowledge. So this word constructivism, you can see the word construct. And what do you mean by construct? It's like a building. You are constructing. So building is not built in one day. Each brick is important. So each kind of knowledge or each minute detail of the knowledge would one day shape you in a particular manner. So this is what Lev Vygotsky was saying. He said that there is always step-by-step learning. You cannot learn everything on your own. You need to interact with a more knowledgeable one. That is the MKO. So the MKO stands for more knowledgeable other. And what is this zone in which you learn with someone? That is ZPD, the zone of proximal development. So what is the thing that he talked about? Let us see. he said that there are some things that I can do. This is a zone where I am very comfortable, right? This is a zone of comfort. I don't have to do anything. Say, for example, I want to learn to ride a bike. Now I am biking, or I'm learning the bike with the two pedals that are already attached. So what is happening? Because I have support, I know that it is such an easy task for me to do. I can even do it without holding hands. I'm too confident. I'm not learning anything new. What is it? I am at a very comfortable position. Now, what if I one day decide I want to learn to drive a bike without the help of my parents? I'll just take out the pedals and then I'll just go. Now, what is it? This way I can get hurt. This is the way that is outside my comfort zone, but that is also practically impossible. So this is a very negative zone, and this zone will give me tension or maybe injury, right? That depends. But what about the purple zone that I'm talking about? This zone of ZPD, zone of proximal development, can help me a lot, because at this zone, what I can do with the help of someone who is more knowledgeable. So with the help of my MKO, my more knowledgeable other, I will learn things, and then I want to believe that my ZPD, my zone of proximal development, would be created, right? So with the contact of a more mature person, the task can be completed. Assisted kind of learning can be done. So in the school, you must have seen that the students would perform better. In the college, the students would perform better if you have your facilitator, if you have your teacher. What is the role of a teacher? They are just what? They are MKO, more knowledgeable other. They will impact you. There will be an interaction done, and in this zone of proximal development, you will learn things. With this speech, by talking with them, you learn things better. Now this learning and this interaction between the MKO and the learner is called as scaffolding. Now it is not Lev Vygotsky who came up with scaffolding. There were other theorists who started to talk about scaffolding, but he used that concept, and then he said that the distance between MKO and learner, and when the effort that they are taking to come towards one another, that is called as scaffolding, and this is the zone of proximal development. Right, now this is your homework. I want you to read more about all these theories. So there is John Dewey. He talked about social activist theory. Then there is Albert Bandura. We talked about it, but search more. He talked about social cognitive theory. Then Lev Vygotsky, scaffolding theory, and then there is Jean Piaget, someone you cannot leave if you are giving your NET exam. They have asked a lot of questions, and in the comment section, I want this class to be interactive. So in the comment section, you have to write down the stages that Piaget gave. They have asked this a lot of time. You have to write the ages and the name of the stages. So this is your homework, and I will surely visit the comment section, and in the next class, we'll see that who has given the answer. I want you to answer those things, right? That will help you. That will surely help you a lot, because when you study the things on your own, it will definitely solidify things in your brain, and that will help you in the further classes and in solving the papers on your own. So there is the theory of cognitive development. He gave this theory. Now what is cognitive? Cognitive is everything related to facts, figures, knowledge, right? So there are three domains that you should be very clear. The first is cognitive domain, then affective, and then psychomotor. So what is cognitive? The facts, the figures, everything related to brain. What is affective? Everything related to the love that we have. Everything related to emotions. What is your psychomotor? Everything to do with the hands. That is your psychomotor domain. So this theory is related to the cognitive development, how your brain is developed. And Jean Piaget gave this, and this is your homework. Then we have the next question. Which parenting styles is the one in which the parents seem cool, very cool, not interacting with the child, and very controlling? So they are controlling. Their interactions with their children is of low warmth and high control. Which is this parenting style? So they have asked this question once, that there are different parenting styles. In this course of video, we'll see that there are 4 parenting styles. So the first one is here, that would be the answer. So there are 4 styles. Let me tell you that first. There is authoritative parents, right? There are authoritative parents, there are authoritarian parents, there are permissive parents, and there are neglectful, rejecting, or uninvolved parents. So who is the one who are very cool, very controlling? They have low warmth and high control. So the right answer is B for you. That is the authoritarian parents. So these are the parents that have less impact on this child because they don't interact. They just expect too much, and there is zero warmth but too much controlling. So they have low warmth and high control, which is a very bad parenting style because you're not involved with your child. You need constant efforts. So this is an authoritarian parent. So the 4 main parenting styles: authoritative, authoritarian, neglectful, and permissive. So each parenting style has different effects on child's behavior and can be identified by certain characteristics. Now let us see the characteristics. The authoritarian parenting style is characterized by high control. They're highly controlling, right? And low warmth. So they don't give much to their child, but they'll expect a lot. No, I want you to come first in your class no matter what, right? Maybe the IQ of the child is not that much. They are struggling in the class. What if they are actually not good in a particular subject, but the parents are too controlling? No, I want you to come first in your class. Then, so these kinds of parents are authoritative, they are authoritarian, you can say. They are very strict and they insist that their students should follow their instructions. Their children should blindly follow what they are saying. Then we have the authoritative parents. Authoritative parents are the good kind of parents. They are the best kind of parents, you can say, because they are open to conversations, they are honest, they discuss with the students, with the children what they want. The child who is having authoritative parent tend to be very self-disciplined, they're self-motivated, they're self-directed, and they think about themselves and about their parents. That means they can think a lot. So they are high warmth and high control parents. Then we have the permissive parents. So the permissive parenting is categorized as those parents who have high warmth and low control. So they are giving a lot of warmth, but they are not asking a lot of questions. There is no control. So you and your sibling are fighting, but they don't care. They are just chilling. That I just love them, right? So these are that kind of parents. So this parent gives the child or the adolescent a very free environment, and too much freedom is not needed here. Then comes the neglectful parents. So the neglectful parents have a limited engagement with their children and they rarely implement any rules. So these neglectful parents have no hold on the children. They are not bothered. They are not present in the course of the time where the child is growing. So these are the parents. They are not involved. They are uncaring, but not always attentive there. So you won't say that they're completely uncaring, but they're not present there most of the time. So therefore, you can say that the authoritarian parents are the parents who seem cool and controlling, and they have low warmth and high control, right? So this is the table that I want you to see. The first category is the unsupportive parents, then the supportive, then there is demanding and undemanding. So authoritarian parent is a very much a control freak. There is relationship of controlling power. They're asking a lot of questions. There is assertiveness, there is power, there is domination, and then it is highly one directional. That is unidirectional communication is seen. They will just ask you to do something. They won't ask anything out of your, what is your feedback. They'll never ask that. Then we have the authoritative parent. This parent has a reciprocal relationship. They'll have a good communication. This communication is bi-directional. That means it is two-way. Two-way. They are responsive. They will respond to your needs and aspirations. Then we have the permissive parenting. So permissive parenting is when they are indulgent, there is low control, and the low amount of conversation with the parents is seen. And the rejecting and the neglectful parents are the one who are uninvolved, right? So these are the 4 types of parenting styles. Let us see another question. Now the 2 coming questions, you will see that you don't always need a theory to solve a question. By just using your presence of mind while you are giving your examination, you can solve the questions from teaching aptitude, from communication. Some questions are for everyone, right? So they are not speed breakers. They're not that challenging. They can be easily handled. Let us read. The first block is for the learning strategies. Then we have the action taken. The first is planning and focus. Then we have organizing and remembering. Then we have comprehension and cognitive monitoring. On the other hand, we have the creating examples, self-questioning and self-testing. Then we have setting goals and timetables and using mnemonics and imagery. Now we have to solve and let us see at the answer. So the C is the correct option. That is C, A to 3. A to 3. So planning and focusing. Of course, when I'm planning things, do you think planning is creating examples? Definitely not. Do you think self-questioning is planning or self-testing is planning? No, that is evaluating myself. But here I am planning and here I am focusing on the different things. Using mnemonics is planning. So MKO, ZPD, all these things are mnemonics, right? So these are the abbreviations that you can have. These are the mnemonics that you can use to learn things. Do you think mnemonics and imagery is my planning? No, but definitely setting goals and examples is my planning. I have a set of timetable for myself. Then B to 4. So there is organizing and remembering. The best way to remember a particular thing is to use mnemonics. Like I told you, MKO stands for more knowledgeable other. Then there is comprehension. So now you have to comprehend things. That means creating an example can make you comprehend and understand things better. So this is matched with the first. And then you have the cognitive monitoring, seeing your cognitive analyzing skills. So D would be matched with my self-questioning, my self-doubting capability, or maybe my self-motivation or my self-testing. So I am evaluating what is my knowledge. So this will be matched to self-testing and your self-questioning. Then we have the last question. Which of the following is the most influential factors that can influence, of course, your learning? So do you think government policy or motivation, aptitude, internet and physical facilities? Out of these, what do you think can be the most influential factors of learning? So the answer to this question is B. That means B, C and D. B, C and D. Let me first see and let me first answer this question in my way. So I read the question that which of the following are the most influential factors of learning? Factors of learning means I'm going to learn things better. Do you think government policy can be used there? No. How can government policy be helpful for my learning? That will only add the stuff I have to learn. That is only adding to what I have to learn. So A won't be there. So I can strike down the things in which A is there. Elimination. This and this would be eliminated. Then I think there is motivation. Okay, motivation. Of course, I need motivation to learn. If I have motivation, then only I can learn things properly. That means B will definitely be there. So the things or the options in which B is not there, you can strike. That means your answer is B. That means B, C, D. You don't even have to read everything. So this will save your time. So B, that means motivation. C, aptitude, your IQ, your skills are needed. Aptitude and internet is needed to learn things. So this is how you can solve the questions on your own. So this was your answer as I told you. So in this course of the video, we understood 3 most important things. 1, how the questions are asked, what approach to use, and then of course we learned about the important concept. Most important thing that I want you to take from this video, read more about these theories. Read about Lev Vygotsky, read about scaffolding, read about the zone of proximal development. Also, they have asked this before. They can ask maybe this. So, Albert's theory, Albert Bandura's theory, you have to learn. And classical conditioning and operant conditioning are the 2 theories that you have to learn. They fall under behaviorist theories. Now, it is not only important for your UGC NET. In fact, in your B.Ed exams also, these same questions are asked, right? So these theories are important for that as well, right? So keep on revising, keep on smiling, keep on again and again doing things so that this gets fixed in your mind and your intrinsic memory is developed, and then you keep on remembering the things as the question pops up in the computer screen. So keep on solving more and more questions with me. I'll be coming with more videos. Each day we're going to look at some other technique or maybe some different ways to solve the questions and different concepts. So learn these concepts. That is going to help you a lot, right? Thank you so much. You can, if you have any doubts, you can write it in the comment section. Thank you.